Good afternoon. This is the Doctor, your host of Trading Card Therapy, episode number 31. Thanks for tuning in today. So, we have a few topics we'd like to cover. The first of which, to me, is the most exciting. We were able to purchase a fresh collection of only 5 vintage cards from the early 1900s. However, of those 5 cards, 2 of them are named Babe Ruth, and 2 of them are named Ty Cobb. And excuse me, is it 5 cards or 6? It's 5 cards. So it's pretty good. And those guys batted, with a high percentage. We're batting 80% with Cobb and Ruths for a 5-card collection. With 4 of them in there, we're very excited. So appreciate you tuning in today. And if you want to learn the full story about this collection and see other stories and videos about other collections that we bought over the last 15 years, you can do so on our website at justcollect.com and check out our blog, or you can go directly to our blog at blog.justcollect.com. You'll see amazing stories like the big Arizona desert find of over 800 Goudeys, including 22 Babe Ruths and Lou Gehrig's. You'll see the PC 796 baseball postcard collection that we recently were able to uncover and purchase that featured 20 cards from that very difficult 25-card set featuring Wagner, Cobb, the Cobb Wagner. That was an amazing find. And of course, this little yet powerful find of strip cards. And for some of you who do not know what strip cards are, we're going to talk about that on today's TCT episode number 31. Afternoon, Nick. I'm going to assume that's Harry. What's up, Todd? Thanks for tuning in. TC from the Hizzy at Rutgers. Appreciate you tuning in. So we're starting off with some real exciting news, and I know Todd is not a strip card expert. And so we're going to get right into it. Strip cards were produced, early 1900s, mostly of baseball players. They were produced of other sports, as well as some actors, actresses, presidents, things of that nature from the time. Most of the companies that produce these strip cards, believe it or not, are unknown, even to the hobby today, 100 plus years later. However, one of the companies was called the DeCalco Lithgo Company, or Litho Company. Can't figure out exactly which one it was. But that, believe it or not, was in Hoboken, which is where I currently reside. And we actually found, I think the collection was called the Hole in the Wall Collection, where some local news stations, including a local news outfit from Jersey City, came to my home in Hoboken, New Jersey, where a gentleman and his family found a few hundred cards in their wall, of which a number of them were these strip cards, and some of those were clearly produced by the DeCalco Company from Hoboken, New Jersey, over 100 years ago. So it's pretty cool. If you want to read about that story, like I said, and more, check out our blog. This story will be on there. Without further ado, we're going to show you the cards that are in the collection. And as we do, we're going to talk about the grading of strip cards, how everything with strip cards used to be perceived, and how it's a little bit different today. And you'll see what I mean in just 1 minute. So we have 3 cards from the W514 series, then a W516, and then, to me, my favorite card in the group is a W520. But without further ado, first up is a W514 of Hat Felsch. And if you missed yesterday's Leighton's Loft, you can tune in every Wednesday at 1:30 p.m. Eastern Time with myself and my co-host Lou. And sometimes we'll give you a sneak peek of things you'll see on Trading Card Therapy 24 hours earlier on Leighton's Loft. So that's the first example. Second card up is a W514. Excuse me, I did not show Instagram. I want to make sure I do. Next up is a W514 of Ty Cobb. Nice eye appeal. Here's the first Ruth in the collection. All-time home run king. Of course, at the time, W514 Babe Ruth of the New York Yankees. This is one of the first Yankee cards that Babe Ruth ever had. Great eye appeal. And we're going to talk about, like I said, how these cards are graded in just a minute. There's the back of it, very clean. Second to last card in the collection, W516 Ty Cobb. clean back. And to me, the prize of the collection, a W520 Babe Ruth, great eye appeal, nice bright yellow, clean back, one of Babe's earliest Yankee cards. So this is where the discussion starts on strip cards today. Before we do, I'm going to share with you the little details we know. This collection belonged to a family's great-grandfather who passed them down several times throughout the family. And when this woman from out west contacted us recently with these 5 cards from her family, she knew they were valuable. We knew they were valuable. We were interested. I think she kind of figured we were interested based on past collections and blogs that she saw of ours. And like we do with many of our collections, we try to do some of the work up front. And so we let her know what we thought they were worth based on the images she had sent to us through our free appraisal form found at justcollect.com. Well, the rest of the transaction happened fairly quickly. She filled out the form. We got her some estimates. We gave her our FedEx number. She overnighted them. We expedited check back. And we now get to show off a fresh to the hobby collection of over 100 years old. Like I said, small, but yet impactful, with 2 Babe Ruths and 2 Lou Gehrig's. So since we're starting with the strip card collection, I wanted to discuss strip cards in general, how they're graded, and one person's opinion on them as far as I'm concerned. So when PSA or SGC grades strip cards, they're generally looking, and I know you cannot see much of a border on any of these 4 cards, although they have all nice eye appeal. These cards were issued in strips by 5 and dime type companies, other retail establishments. And I believe for the most part, they were intended for kids to collect them because they were supposed to be cut up and kind of traded and collected in that fashion. And so when PSA and SGC grade them, they're looking for, and I wish I had an example here. I should have brought it on air. We'll show it online. They're looking for a border to be seen. And I guess you could see just a glimpse of the border right here on the Happy Felsch, right? But they're looking for that border to be all around these, very fine dotted lines. And if they're around in the grading company's estimation enough, meaning in totality, they're going to apply a numeric grade to that strip card. And I would say for the last, 10, 20 years since they were grading strip cards, most of the time, people that were collecting them and they wanted them graded would really be, kind of focusing on the graded numerical versions of strip cards. In other words, if they could find a W514 of Ruth, even though this is nice eye appeal, and they found another one that for whatever reason or another graded numerically, but had some, flaw to it, folks for the most part would prefer a graded numerical example of an early, for example, Babe Ruth or Ty Cobb strip card. And I'm not suggesting it's changing overnight or it has changed overnight, but I've been noticing through my research of not just this collection, but other strip cards, I value through the leads that we get, as well as buying out of auctions, that eye appeal, just like a lot of the other graded card hobby that collects vintage sports card, matters more than ever. And so what I really like about this collection is this W514 Babe Ruth is not going to get a numerical grade. However, the eye appeal is fantastic. It's almost a full card. It's got great color. I don't see any evidence of real creasing. And so if this was going to grade numerical, at first glance, I would say this card grades a solid X. An X is a 5, okay? For those looking on Instagram. An X is a 5. Now, I'm not saying it deserves a grade of a 5, but I believe more than ever before, just like folks are appreciating the card itself and not necessarily the grade all the time on other standard, vintage sports cards that are being graded, I feel the same or similar is happening with strip cards. So to be clear, just because a Babe Ruth W514 might grade a 2, 3, or 4, if another Babe Ruth W514 has better eye appeal, I believe that there's a change happening. There's a wave of new opinion where it seems very, at least candidly to me, in the prices I was researching, looking at this collection, that strip cards with strong eye appeal, in some cases, sell for as much, if not more, than a graded numerical example. And I know this may appear or seem as though it's self-serving because I'm holding 5 cards right now, but I'm only using these cards to show off strip cards in general. Like I said, we're super pumped about these because they are fresh to the hobby and we just got them. But I thought it was good fuel for today's discussion about strip cards. And there's no right or wrong. So what's great is if you still enjoy collecting strip cards with numerical grades and that border is something that drives you crazy as a collector, as an OCD person, well, then by all means, you should go for it. But what I'm suggesting is that if you are willing to accept a non-numerical graded example of a strip card, it seems like the market is starting to appreciate and catch up on these stronger looking examples, regardless of if there's actually a grade on it or not. And so I'm curious, for those of you who collect strip cards or watch the market, on vintage of strip cards, let me know if you agree in the chat. I'm curious what you have found yourself in your travels. Nonetheless, really excited about this small but yet powerful group. Full story coming soon to our blog at blog.justcollect.com. All right, next up is a small public service announcement. This is something that's been a long time coming, and whether it was COVID, whether it was a shutdown or severe delay of grading companies, at Vintage Breaks and Just Collect, we had no choice but to stop accepting the submission of cards for grading to third-party grader like PSA, like SGC, like ISA. And now we are proud to say we are back tomorrow during our Vintage Breaks live stream. We will announce the pricing, which will be very competitive with a lot of the other third-party submission services that are available. We are doing it to be able to help you, the collecting community. We are going to mark up the grading like other third-party grading services submission centers do. We're doing it to cover the cost of it, the insurance, the labor. But if it's something where you want a second opinion on your cards, you don't like having to garner enough cards to send out yourself in a submission by yourself, meaning they need 25 or whatever the particular requirements are for that company, this is a great option for you. And we're going to be doing so once a month here from our offices from Just Collect and Vintage Breaks. We'll be submitting them directly to PSA, directly to SGC, directly to ISA, if that is what you covet. So drop me a line, Leighton at justcollect.com, LEIGHTON at justcollect.com, if you'd like more information about that service. And by the way, if you don't want to use our services, there are plenty of other submission services type parties like Gem Mint, who we still will send our customers to. But if you're local, if you know me, if you feel better because you can come in and drop them off, whatever the case is, we are here for you. And we are happy to help the community. We know it's appreciated and we're happy to be able to do it. Glad you were able to tune in today, TC. Looking forward to grabbing lunch. Maybe we can do so in the near future in Millburn, New Jersey, or the near area. And the last topic today, we could talk about many other topics, but this is one which, you talk about, the collecting community and how it means different things to different people. I talk about my son on here, not to do anything else other than to share with you a little bit about, the love of my life and what's going on as a single dad, and, lots of other interesting ups and downs that have nothing to do with collecting or cards or anything of that nature. And so I had talked about this big Disney trip that we were going on, and now we've come back. Disney World in Florida, for those of you keeping track at home, because I know there's a Disneyland in California, as my son often reminds me. And, I had a lot of well wishes, which of course is great. Felt the TLC, felt the support from a crazy, life that, I had last year transpire in 2022, but back bigger than ever and stronger in 2023. And so I was really proud to share with the audience about Crosby and I going to Disney World. And in fact, I was just talking to my really good friend Monty earlier. Monty's wife, who by day is a very successful businesswoman and of course puts up with Monty, which, is a task in and of itself. But she's also a Disney nerd and as passionate about Disney stuff as I am about cards, believe it or not. And, she helps people. I wouldn't call her a travel agent, even though she does offer those services. She's someone who cares about people going to Disney. She just happens to book trips. And so she helped Crosby and I prep for the trip a lot. And it was extremely useful. And I'm very grateful for it, Darcy. And so I wanted to make sure I recommended her and her services on the show today. But what I thought was even more interesting and super cool was, the well wishes that we were getting from others. And in some cases, folks I've never met in person and maybe even ever chatted with, on the phone or online. But I got a particular Instagram message from a Michael from Eclectic Collectibles. And I would imagine Michael and I have not talked yet, but we've spoken through, chatting on Instagram Messenger. And Crosby and I are going to go through these together on air. But Crosby right now is in discussions with his management about starting his own YouTube show. So you can imagine, Michael, I might have to get to the back of the line and figure out where I fit in, with his content schedule and what he's looking to accomplish. Appreciate everyone, smirking, laughing, and understanding. But what I thought was really great, and I appreciated, this is what's so awesome about the hobby. Before I give Michael a shout out about what he sent to my son and I, special shout out to Jim from Karma Records, who sent a little care package along with some hooded sweatshirts and some great music, which I just started listening to in my car. I did give the darker sweatshirt to J5, Jim, and the blue one to me. I thought for a minute about keeping both. He did specifically say to give the other one to J5, but they're both great. So thank you very much. And all of those types of column gifts or paying it forward, they're of course appreciated. Nothing's required, but definitely feel the love and support from the community. And so this is what was so interesting. Michael's not someone I've spoken with. I have a rapport. He does follow me on social, meaning the collecting journey that I'm off on a daily basis. And Michael said, and I don't want to misquote, but he said something along the lines of, Leighton, I got these cool, call them Disney mementos. And just based on the way you're talking about being enthusiastic about going to Disney with your son, it seems like, they'd have a better home with you and him than me. And so, we're probably going to get one or two of these slabbed. I'm going to put this with the photo album that I'm in the process of making for Crosby from Disney. So don't tell him. But yes, I'm being nerdy. I'm selecting photographs both from my own photos. And then J5, I did the Disney Magic Photo Pass. So I got a bunch of professional photos. So I'm putting together like one of these, books so that Crosby can have it when we're not together and say, oh, I went to Disney with my dad. It's so cool. So check this out. Once again, big shout out to Michael. These are what I believe are unused Magic Kingdom, Magic Key coupon tickets from Disneyland. I haven't gone through everything yet. In fact, this is the first time I've opened it because I want to do it with Crosby, but I thought it would make great content for the show. I also want to show off the folks on Instagram who are watching Trading Card Therapy today. Check out like the cover to this. Clearly the value is greater than zero. I did not ask Michael for these. Michael asked if I would appreciate them. And of course I do. I'm only hoping that Crosby does as much as I do. But I know he appreciated the trip. We're going to put this in our scrapbook. And I wanted to show you the other tickets that were sent. So in this one, there's only one. We hope that your visit with us today will be a happy and memorable experience for you and your family. Like, this is a great memento for our little book of photographs that we're going to put together from our trip to Disney. So Michael, thank you very much from the bottom of my heart, as well as from my son. And there's a few loose tickets. Once again, I don't know if these were taken out from these particular books. Maybe Michael will be willing to come out in the future and tell me a little bit about Eclectic Collectibles and how he got these and the types of collectibles he's in. We're going to be doing more guest appearances in 2023 across Trading Card Therapy and Leighton's Loft. So if you have an interesting collecting story to tell, for example, like Daniel Lynch, who I believe pieced together a 1948 Bowman baseball graded set from Vintage Break Set Breaks, from Just Collect, from trading. Looking forward to hearing about that on a future episode of Trading Card Therapy. Great question. So I'm going to see if I can find a year on any of these tickets. I see that they're 75 cents. So what I can tell you is that they must have been a while ago, because I don't think you could buy anything for 75 cents at Disney World today. But great question. I don't see a date on these that's easily identifiable, but I will try to find out for the future. So, we're talking about the hobby and how much of a great journey it can be. Well, it's like little messages and little gifts like these that really, not make it all worthwhile, just make you appreciate that, we'll talk about my dating life maybe in another future episode, right? But I did go out on a date on Sunday, and I'm gonna leave you with this. I'm thinking this woman has no interest hearing about cards, anything to do with the hobby. And she's like, it seems like you really like what you do for work. And I say to her, name is Emily. I say to Emily, I'm like, well, yeah, I mean, it's fantastic. I'm like, don't you like what you do? She's like, well, I like getting paid. And she was, it was her own subtle way, not so subtle, of explaining to me that not everyone loves what they do. Not everyone enjoys the journey. And so, believe me, having physical tickets is great. Buying cool cards is great, right? But the memories that you make forever in Disney World, the friends that you make, hopefully for a lifetime in this hobby, they may have been met or made through cards. They may have been met or made through Disney tickets and stories. But make no mistake, they're far more valuable than anything that you can hold in your hand. And with that, we're going to wrap up the 31st edition of Trading Card Therapy. Appreciate all the love in 2022. We are back and better than ever in 2023. Look for us every Thursday at 1:30 p.m. Eastern Time, right here on IG Live and on our YouTube channel.